Layering, y'all. Let's do this. Okay, so as you can probably guess, today we are talking layers. The first rule of layering is don't overthink layering. It's really not that difficult. These are a multitude of options. You're not going to need all this. It's going to depend on how you run. Do you run hot? Do you run cold? What activity are you going to be doing? Are you going to be sweating a lot? Is it going to be like a high endurance activity? And the last is, where are you going? What's the weather going to be like? And the good thing about layering is you're preparing for all scenarios. And that's what layering is. It's a way to stay cool. It's a way to stay warm. Don't overthink it. Let's get into this. So let's start with bottoms first. So hopefully you're going to be wearing underwear. I recommend it. I usually wear longer ones. I just find them more comfortable. They don't ride up. They prevent chafing. And these are just regular Adidas ones. They dry fast. They keep pretty clean. Not as clean as merino, but they do really well. And I usually just bring 2 of these. Depends how long the trip's going to be. Sometimes I might bring 3 if I'm going to be gone for a long time. But usually I'm going to bring 1 of these. Again, you don't have to spend a ton of money on underwear, especially the bottoms. Just get whatever works for you, whatever's comfortable, whatever's going to prevent any kind of rubbing, any kind of chafing. Merino is awesome, but these aren't merino, and this is what I wear, and I've had no problem. Just try not to spend too much money on underwear. Get what works for you. Next, we got our Baselayer bottoms. These are Arcteryx. These work pretty well. I also have a pair of Nikes that I wear, honestly, just as much as these. I actually find the Nike a little more comfortable, and they breathe well, and they kind of help with the retain warmth a little bit more. But when you are looking at any kind of base layer and underwear, just make sure they're not cotton. They should be synthetic. They should be polyester, or they should be merino wool. Especially if they're going to be getting damp at all with sweat or conditions. You do not want to be getting cotton. So another rule I'm putting out there, nothing should be cotton on this table. Nothing should be cotton in your closet that you're going to be hiking or climbing in. These just go on over. The good thing about these is they don't really weigh too much. They pack up super small. So I'm always going to take these. You never really know when conditions are going to call for them, but it takes a pretty cold temperature for me to get to the base layer bottoms. My legs don't run super cold. My feet will, extremities, but my legs are usually pretty good. So I will put these on when needed, higher up on a mountain, or if the weather is going to be getting cold. After the base layers, we got our pants. So I'm going to show you a couple different kinds of pants. First are just my normal hiking pants. I'm going to wear these in just normal weather. If it's hot, if it's just a little bit chilly, these work great. These are the Prana Zions. I like them. They stretch. They have pockets. They work great for most conditions. I've had 2 pairs of these, and they've lasted a long time. So for normal hiking, I definitely recommend just a light, normal hiking pant, and definitely one that has a lot of stretch in it, because you are going to be moving. And these are, so next up on the list, climbing, mountaineering pants. They could also be considered snowboard or ski pants, any kind of snow pant. These are going to definitely keep you much warmer than a normal hiking pant. They're a little bit loud. It's okay, people can hear you coming. These are the Arcteryx Beta ARs. There's also an LT, which I do like. They're lighter, they're not as warm. But these I've worn up, 4 of the 7 summits that I've climbed. And these work great. They have a good pocket on the side. That's usually where I keep anything I need to get to quickly. The little cargo pocket. I keep my sunblock in there, chapstick. And the other thing I like about these is you can cinch the bottom. It also has a hook that can hook onto the laces of your boot. and it also has elastic cinch, so that keeps it nice and tight, so you're not going to get snow up there. And especially if you're wearing crampons, you want the bottom of the pant to be a bit tighter so you don't catch your crampon, which I don't know if you can see this in this light, but that's some tape. Got some fabric tape on here where I have caught crampons before, but these are a little beat up, but they still work great for me. I haven't needed to upgrade them at all. And these are my snow pants that I wear. Okay, so sticking with the bottoms, these are my hard shell bottoms. Again, these are Arcteryx. I'm not telling you guys to buy Arcteryx. This just happens to be what I have. These are also the Beta ARs. I've really only worn these, I think, twice ever. Once was on one of the routes on Aconcagua because it got insanely windy and cold. The one thing I do like about these hard shells is this bottom is firmer material. It's super tough. You can see in the light. So these are awesome for using with crampons because you are not going to stick one of your crampons in there. And make sure you get basically the full zip version because you want to be able to put these on fast over your boots. You do not want to have to take your boots off. So you slip your foot in, you zip it up. It also has Velcro at the bottom to keep it nice and tight. There's another cinch here. So multiple redundancies, but these I picked just because of these features that I really liked, and they're really burly. And again, these are really light as well. So on certain trips, I do take these. If there's even a chance I might need them, I'm going to take them, but I don't wear hard shell pants that often. It's really just going to be if it's getting super wet out or super windy, I'm going to go to these. Next up on the bottoms and last are my puffy pants. These are the Black Diamonds. A bunch of people make them now. North Face has a good one. Outdoor Research has one. Rab has one. So it's basically like a down jacket for your legs. These are going to keep you much warmer than the hard shell will. Again, these also have extra protection on the bottom for your crampons. You got to be super careful that you don't snag them on anything because they will rip. These I definitely recommend. I've used these more than I've used my hard shells. I've used these on Aconcagua. I've used these a lot on Denali. I slept in these on Denali, and these were definitely a purchase I wasn't sure about, but once I got it and the amount of use that they've seen, I highly recommend it. If you're just doing a regular hike, day hike, overnight hiking, you're not going to need puffy pants, but the hard shells I would recommend taking. All right, and that basically sums up the bottoms. So you really only need 3 things, okay? You're going to need your base layer, and that includes your underwear. You're going to need whatever pant you're bringing, your hiking pant or a snow pant, again, depending on the conditions and where you're going. And then one option would be to take puffy pants, but I would definitely probably recommend the hard shells. That's all you need, those 3 things. If you're going to anywhere that's going to be super cold, definitely I recommend getting the puffy pants. They are insanely comfortable. They're very warm, and it's just like a nice feature to have. Are they necessary? Again, it's really going to depend on how cold it is where you're going. Moving up, the base layers on top. There's a lot of different options for base layers on top. Long sleeve, hood, there's different thicknesses, different brands, Patagonia, Outdoor Research, Black Diamond, Arcteryx, Rab, Smartwool, really good stuff from Smartwool as well. The one caveat I would give you is just make sure it's not cotton. Definitely stick with a synthetic or a merino wool, especially on the top where you might be sweating more moving uphill. And I'm going to show you the ones that I like for different scenarios. Some of these are interchangeable, and it's just going to be preference. First up on my list is this Patagonia Sun Hoodie. This I really liked. This I wore a lot on Denali, even though it was pretty warm out at the bottom of the mountain just because of the sun. I still want to be covered up. I don't want that sun hitting really any part of my body because you will get burnt. There's a lot of radiation the higher up you get. It's way easier to get burnt. So I definitely wanted to cover everything, and I'm a big fan of the hood. I like to put the hood on to keep my head covered as well. I also use a buff, as many of you already know. So when I buy base layers, tops, I always buy one with the thumb loop for a couple reasons. One, when your thumb is in there, when you're wearing this, it's going to go down basically to a little above your knuckles. So you just eliminated that slight gap between a glove and your jacket that could open up. And you don't really want your skin exposed. You don't want to get frostbite there. You do not want to get sunburn there. This is just an extra way to eliminate that possibility. It also keeps your wrist warmer. The warmer your wrist, because it's a major artery, the warmer your hands are going to be. And the second reason I really like it is when I'm wearing this and using trekking poles, you're not going to get any blisters from long time use of trekking poles. I definitely recommend a thumb hole. So this one is one of my favorites. The other one I like is, this is Patagonia Capilene. It's one of their thinner versions. It's a little fun, you know, striped, but style aside, this has kept me super warm, and I've worn this on many trips. This one does not have a hood, but if I'm doing like a bigger mountaineering trip where I'm going to be wearing a jacket all the time and I already have a hood, this one works great. Another version, this one's a thicker, like a 250 merino, is from, again, Arcteryx. The thing I like about this is it has a hood. So it's a heavier weight than the sun hoodie, but again, it covers my head, and this one stays pretty close to my body, which is what you want when you're wearing a base layer. I don't want it form-fitting. Some people do. Some people are fine with that, but I want it close to my body where it is going to transfer the sweat off my skin and help it evaporate faster and dry faster. But I also don't want something form-fitting where I feel restricted or it's going to cut off any kind of blood flow in any way. So sizing is always going to be key on these, but they all have a stretch to it, so it's not going to be a huge concern. All right, next up on the upper base layers, this is going to be one of my thickest base layers. This one has a fleece inside with kind of more of the polyester wind resistant material on the outside. This one's really warm. It's another Arcteryx model. This one's super warm. Sometimes I find it too warm when layering. I usually don't need a mid layer if I'm wearing this, or it needs to be really, really cold. I think I wore this once and it worked, but for the amount of space this is going to take up in my pack, I usually do not go this warm, and I try to rely more on the mid layers instead of the base layers. All right, and last up on my base layer is a Rab onesie. Yes, it's a onesie. Yes, I have worn it, and yes, it's effective. What's a onesie? That's a onesie. So goes all the way up to the shoulders, all the way down to my ankles, and zips up. This, like the other Arcteryx I just showed you guys, has a fleece lining inside. Outside is kind of the same material, that polyester. This is Polar Tech as well. So this thing is warm. The thing I really like about this onesie is just like, you know, the thumb holes on a base layer, this eliminates any kind of gap in between your clothing. So one of the biggest gaps you're going to get is the lower back. If the jacket rides up or the base layers underneath, there's going to be that gap between your pants and your jacket. This completely eliminates it. It's comfortable and it's really nice. It's just a one piece. So if you are going somewhere super cold, if you're going to Vincent, Denali, I would take this. I would highly recommend this. Anywhere else, I would definitely just stay with the two piece because you can layer those. This is basically a one piece, so once it's on, it's on. The only good thing about that is it does have that friendly zipper in the back. So you can definitely do your business in this, and I have, not in this, but unzip it business and zip it back up. So that is the last of the base layers. Again, with the base layer tops, pick the one that's going to be suited best for you. I always recommend, if you're doing a mountaineering trip, to bring two, one for the lower mountain, one for the higher, and one to deal with different kind of conditions. My go-tos are usually just going to be the sun hoodie and then a thicker base layer top like this Patagonia or a Smart Wool 250 weight. You're pretty much covered when you're dealing with base layers. And again, depending, there are times when you don't need a base layer. That's why I like to always have at least a sun hoodie, because you definitely want a shirt on. And this one works great. You can also double up if it's insanely cold with your heavier weight base layer. That's always going to be another option, and that's why they call it layering. You can take them on, you can peel them off, and you can suit basically all your needs and any weather. So that's it with the base layers. That's it with the bottoms. Now we go to jackets. Okay, directly over the base layer is going to come your mid layer. Mid layers, again, there are multiple options, multiple brands, and the key is always going to be what works for you and where are you going. So a lot of these are going to be personal choices. I tend to run a little hot, so that's how I kind of layer myself. Some people run super cold. That's a totally different option in terms of how you're going to layer. So let's go over this mid layer, because the mid layer is going to be one of the most important pieces of gear you're going to be taking on any kind of mountaineering trip or even just a hiking trip. The Patagonia Nanoair. So this is definitely my favorite go-to mid layer. Two pockets up here, both chest pockets work well, especially if you're wearing a harness, and two hand pockets, no inner pocket. Again, nice hood. It can go up or under a helmet. This one I usually wear under, unless I'm wearing a hat. It's a bit pricey, over $300, but it weighs hardly anything. And just the amount of flexibility that you have and how well this jacket just works with your body, from either keeping you warm or just, dumping heat when you need to. It just really works. So this is my go-to. And if you can, I would say definitely try one of these on, pick it up. It's an awesome mid layer. This is the OG model. When it first came out, I wanted to try it, and I fell in love with this. I wear this all the time. I actually wear it when I'm not climbing or hiking as well. Oh, I got some gloves in here. Nice. I was looking for that. On a good day, I'm only wearing this and my base layer. This thing breathes insanely well. It's light. It keeps me warm. It's comfortable. I don't really feel it on. So this is always going to be in my pack. This one I kind of fell in love with when I was trying to lock down my system that worked for me. So this was definitely one of my favorites that I bring with me all the time. And then moving on to puffy insulated down jackets. Another one that I like to use is the Patagonia Nanopuff. It's insanely popular. I feel like everybody has one of these for a reason. It has 60 grams of Nanoloft in here for warmth, and I think it weighs about 12.9 ounces. But this is definitely a solid jacket. It's only like $190, I think, retail. Again, has a really good hood. This can go under, which is how I usually wear it, but it can also go up over a helmet. In terms of features, there's not many. This is basically the only inner pocket. It is deep though, so you definitely can keep food. When I'm doing mountaineering and it gets really cold, this is basically where I'm going to put most of the food I'm going to be eating so it doesn't freeze. Keeps it close to the chest. But otherwise you have two hand pockets as well. And as you can see, it's super thin and it's incredibly easy to layer. It feels like you're wearing nothing. This is another one of my staples that I really, really like. I've tried on a bunch of different other brands. Some are kind of close, but none have really matched the Nanopuff yet to my liking. So this one stays with me at all times. All right, and then here we have the Mountain Hardwear Ghost Whisperer. Again, this thing is insanely warm. It's 800 fill with goose down, and it comes in, I believe, around 8.8 ounces. So it's incredibly warm. It's incredibly light. It's definitely a super solid mid-layer to wear, especially if you run cold, if you run hot, like me sometimes. This thing can get a little too hot, but other than that, it's just a super solid jacket. And again, they did such a good job making this. So definitely for the colder environments, this is going to be my go-to mid-layer. You just can't beat, 800 down, 800 fill down in this, goose down. And for the weight, 8 ounces, I mean, it packs into its own pocket. It's pretty bomber. I remember I wore this on the summit when I was doing Rainier one year, and I was sweating in this. I had to take it off and put it in my pack, and I just wore a hard shell and my base layer to the summit because it was honestly too warm. So that could be a plus or a minus. It depends again on your situation. If you run cold, I'm going to definitely recommend the Ghost Whisperer. This is going to keep you warm. Again, it weighs 0 pounds. It's nothing, and it's going to keep you warm. So that basically covers the mid layers. If you're going to spend money, I would probably spend money on my mid layer just because of the amount of use you're going to get out of it. And those are your options. So you have a normal kind of jacket like the Nanoair. You can go with the puffy or you can go with the fleece. They're all viable options, and it really is just going to depend on what you like the best and what works for you. All right, sticking with tops, the next thing you're definitely going to need is hard shell top. So here we have the Arcteryx. This is the Beta LT. There's also a Beta AR, which is burlier, and a Beta SL, which runs even thinner. Again, this is one of my favorite jackets. It has Velcro on the sleeves. You can cinch it up, loosen them to your liking, so you can go over or under gloves, depending on what you like. It has one chest pocket, which I do use. This is actually really deep. It goes all the way down into there. But we are talking a $500 jacket. That said, you're going to kind of get what you pay for with this one. It has a great hood. Again, you can also cinch it down. It has like a little brim that could be used over your hat. Also keeps the sun and the rain off. This can be cinched down so you can just wear it regular, or loosened it up. You can wear it over a helmet. It's very light, and that's basically all the features. There's no pit zips. You don't really need it with this, just given how light this is. But it's definitely a great jacket, and for coming in, around 12 ounces, you can't really go wrong. When it comes to hard shells, you do not need to spend, $900 on a jacket. Like, they're super nice. Are they going to protect you any more than a $150 hard shell? No. So I'm a fan of this one. I'm also a big fan of Patagonia. I think they make an awesome hard shell. The Torrent shell is a great jacket. Outdoor Research also has really good ones, and Black Diamond for that matter. So a lot of them are, the biggest differences are going to be kind of features, and make sure you're getting Gore-Tex on your hard shell. That should not be a feature. That should just be a staple, a requirement. And then the biggest price difference is just going to be the weight. The lighter they are, the more expensive they are. So keep an eye on that. Sometimes it pays to go lighter by an ounce or two, but when we're getting up to these higher price points in these hard shell jackets, an ounce or two is probably not going to be worth it. So find your budget and then pick your hard shell. Just keep it like a reputable company and you'll do fine. All right, next up is the Patagonia Houdini. The only feature it has, one tiny little pocket. You're probably not going to use it, but it's there if you need to. This runs, I think, a little over $100. It's treated with DWR. It's 100% recycled.
which is nice. You can't even feel that you're wearing it. Has a good hood. This can actually go over or under a helmet, which is another feature I like. And I think it weighs about 3.5 ounces. So basically nothing.
This thing I wasn't sure about. I'm like, do I need this? I have a hard shell. You know, the weight on this is nothing. It packs down to nothing. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to give it a try. I did use this a lot on Aconcagua just because of the wind, and it wasn't super cold. So the fact that this thing breathes so well, it does block out the wind. It doesn't block out the rain, but it will block out the wind. There is a use for this. If you're going somewhere where that's not going to be super windy, you're probably not going to need it. A hard shell will be fine, or just your mid layer to keep some of that wind out. But if you're going on a longer trip, this thing is amazing. I don't know how they did it, but they did. This is the OG model as well. And I do like this. I do take this a lot. If it's not going to be raining, and I'm like almost 100% sure, but it might be windy, I will take this on day hikes or overnight multi-day hike trips because it's a good feature to have. And just because I'm going to be moving, I'm probably going to be sweating at times. I don't want to get extra hot. And this thing will help keep me cool while keeping the wind off at the same time. It could be considered a luxury item, but it doesn't weigh anything. So it's kind of middle of the road on that one. I'm going to leave that up to you, but definitely experiment. If this seems like something that would work for you, get it. You will not be sorry. And last up on the layering is going to be your big down parka. Doesn't have to be down, could be a synthetic parka. This, if you're doing a mountaineering trip, is going to be in your bag, period. Doesn't matter. If you're doing a regular hiking trip, you do not need this type of jacket. Do not spend the money. You're not going to use it. You don't need it. It's 100% overkill. If you're doing any kind of mountaineering trip, it is essential. Even if you don't use it, which you probably will, keep it in your pack. So what is it? Basically just that, a big down puffy jacket. Some people call it a belay parka because you do use these when you're doing, you know, any kind of cold weather climbing, ice climbing. When you're on belay, you're basically just standing there. Your blood's not really circulating because you're not moving. You're going to want to stay warm. You're going to want to put these on. In terms of mountaineering, this you're going to use a lot higher up on the mountain, especially summit day when it's cold, extremely cold out. It's dark out. This thing is going to keep you warm. It's going to stay in your bag at all times.
This is the Patagonia Fitz Roy. Runs about $400, 800 fill power. What I really like about this, though, is it only weighs about 17 ounces. So, again, it's very light. Goes over all my clothes well. Also has a really big hood, so it's helmet compatible. As you can see, I've gotten a lot of use out of this. But in terms of parkas go, this one works really well for me.
The other good thing when you're doing a mountaineering trip is this is my pillow. So at night, I will squish it all up, tuck it into the sleeve, the entire jacket into the sleeve, and that's my pillow in my sleep setup. So these tend to run a bit pricier depending on the features and down and how down is treated. If you're doing a mountaineering trip and you're going to have one of these, I highly recommend going down just because of the weight. The artificial ones work great for their intended use, but they're going to weigh a lot more. The things to consider is possibly sizing up in these jackets because this is going to be on top of everything else. This is your most extreme outer layer. So you want to make sure it fits and you can still move. The other things you need to consider are, again, it's fragile because it's down. The material is fragile because it's light, so it is going to rip. I have a bunch of fabric tape on this one. Patagonia, North Face, a lot of retailers and vendors will fix these for you if you send them in. Some will even replace them. Personally, the tape holds everything together, and the tape for me tells a story. So I like to keep it. It's another reason why I used kind of a lot of the same gear because for me, they have like a memory and a story to them, underwear included. So when you're looking at these, the down parkas, just keep an eye on your budget. Don't overspend because you don't have to. Keep an eye on the weight. Patagonia is really good. Black Diamond has some great ones. Arcteryx has really good ones, but they're really expensive and you're not really going to get that much more out of it. So try to keep that budget down and know that you're not going to be wearing this every day, but when you are wearing it, you're going to be super, super glad that you have it and that you've been carrying it this whole time and it doesn't weigh, you know, a ton of weight. So that basically does it with layering. So again, just keep it simple. Keep it down to the big threes. You're going to want base layer, pants, and most likely a hard shell pant. That's all you need for your bottoms. When we're talking tops, you're going to want a base layer top. I highly recommend a lighter base layer with thumb holes, with a hood. Then your mid layer. Again, it's going to be a lot of preference where you're going and just how your body works. My two favorite are going to be the Nanoair and the Nanopuff. They work best for me. The Ghost Whisper is an awesome jacket. They did a really good job making this, especially for the weight. But depending, it usually runs a little warm for me. And your hard shell. And that's going to cover it for your tops. You got your three bottoms, your three tops. The parka is going to be essential if you're doing cold weather mountaineering. Take it with you. Normal day hiking, you're not going to need it. You're just going to need your base layer, your mid layer, and your hard shell and or wind jacket. And then you're all set. So again, keep an eye on prices. Try not to overspend and don't overthink it. You know how your body works when it's cold. You know if you run hot, you know if you run cold, and plan accordingly. Read reviews. There's a lot of good stuff out there. A lot of these places make really good stuff, and just if you can, try to get them on sale or a discount because it does start to get expensive, especially looking at the down layers and the hard shell layers. But that's it. Hopefully you guys got something out of this, and I will see you next time.